sounds like it's here. Is it you? No? Is it you, Tina? I bet she had you money.
Okay, it is June 17th, and this is the regular council meeting for the town of Rocky Mountain House. It's 9 a.m., and I will call the meeting to order. First order of business is the adoption of the agenda. I know we do have one item to add to the agenda under correspondence for action. Item 8.3, the curling club letter that we received. So we will add that. Is there any other modifications to the agenda that needs to be made? If not, just looking for a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Councillor Schipel.
Thank you, Mayor. I also make the motion that we accept the agenda as amended.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Looking at the previous minutes, we have the minutes from our June 3rd meeting. Anyone see anything that needs to be modified or changed or in the minutes? Councillor Auld. Oh, Councillor Musker, sorry. I saw two hands
Mayor.
reaching at the same time.
Yeah, I beat him to it. I move that we accept the meeting, or the minutes from the regular council meeting of June the 3rd, 2025.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion of that motion. All those in favor? And that is carried. We have no delegations today, so we're going to move right on to new business. Councillor Schipel's notice of motion on the sewer freeze. And I see Mr. Shanks coming up.
Good morning, afternoon, Mayor, Council. So we've been asked to look at alternatives to rectify the ongoing sewer issues at 5911 65th Avenue. We've been dealing with this for a few years, but nothing that was really standing out to us as extremely important. It's important anytime a sewer backup happens, but we do our due diligence and look into why it happened and how we can rectify it. Just a little background on the house. It was built in 1996. In 2014 was the first time we had the backup. Very first freeze up in that location. It was dealt with. Town paid for it. The second time was 2019. Same thing, froze off. Contractor went in and dealt with it under the town's okay. 2023 it happened again. We were busy at the time, so we did not attend. We got a hold of a local plumber to go and deal with the issue. They thought it out. Takes pretty much seconds to do it. It does not take long at all. It takes longer to pop the manhole and pull the insulation out of the very bottom of the hole than it does to actually steam the line. This year it happened again. We went in, got the local plumber to go and thought out again. The only difference this time was we took on the camera work that was not done in the past. So part of the ask on this was to look at the bill from 2023 and look at compensating the owners, property owners for that. The reason we didn't pay it in 2023 is we have a sewer backup policy that everybody has to follow. They have to fill it out and have to give it back to us. And part of that is you get camera job done to the service line to tell us what the problem is. If it's our problem, we have no issues paying for it. If it's not our problem, we don't pay for it. Going back and looking at the pictures from 2023, if you look at, we don't have them here, if you look at where the service comes out of the home and comes into the manhole, there's a big blob of materials, and that's what holds the water All the pictures show it. The main pipe going into the main line is clear. There's no issues there. It's not froze at all. Part of the issues that we find is not enough water flow, being the first online. So if they increase the water flow, that would push the materials farther down into the line where they belong. This house is the very first one on that line, and it's not a bad thing. Lots of areas have that. But if they increase the water flow, a lot of these issues would go away. As far as the blockage, that's why it froze off in 2023. You can see that in the photos. Right up in the top corner, actually, the bottom picture right there. Right there. So it's huge. And it actually, you look at the water level as it comes from the town's main line, comes around the curve, and it goes into the private sewer. It's still open. As it goes farther into the pipe, it freezes. So, what we've done is we've gone in 2023, we insulated it at the bottom of the hole, a manhole. No different than we've done in a different location in town. They have the same issue. It's a little shallower than what this one is. Something we tried or are doing this year that we've not done in the past is they make a bladder. It's a kind of a catch-all, catches all the gravel, extra rain for infiltration, and it sits right underneath the manhole. We took that bladder and we filled it full of spray foam, and that is going to, in our minds, stop the cold air from getting from top to the bottom. So, any questions?
Okay, thank you very much for that report. Councillor Schipholz, light on, yep.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So thanks for that report. And I think the problem going forward is going to be resolved. In your report, you indicated in, I think it was February in April of this year, you've fixed it, so hopefully there's no more problem. I took it upon myself to talk to an engineer to say, like, why is this happening? And he most certainly said that the ambient air is a problem within that manhole cover. And the colder that ambient air gets, and he said it could be a bunch of reasons why it doesn't happen every year, just from hot and cold spells, amount of ice on the road. He had a whole bunch of reasons why. And because it's the first manhole cover on the line, the shallowness of it doesn't help anything. It's at 10 feet according to Bowman's Bill. Now, going through Bowman's Bills, in this case, talking with him, he says the ambient air is going to freeze the water as it comes out. And I mean, we don't have a bylaw that says you got to have so much water going through your line. We don't proactively ask people to use more water. We actually do quite the opposite. We say, give them reasons why not to use water. So in this case, they don't use enough water, granted. But the ice will start in the actual manhole cover, and then it'll creep back into their sewer line to form a block at the end of their sewer line. That's where the water is coming from. So the issue is, to me, in the manhole cover itself with the ambient air temperature being so cold, and it freezes it back. And the photos that you showed where the ice is built up in the trough of the manhole cover and how it can back that up and put the block. And you know how you related, it only takes seconds to block it, or to unblock it. It's because it's right at the head of, or the exit of their sewer line. So I think now that we've fixed the problem, in the future, and it shouldn't be an issue, the only thing outstanding is this one sewer bill from Bowman's. We paid for the three other ones. I think we should pay for this one, understanding that we've now hopefully rectified the problem. It doesn't make sense why we pay for 3 and not the 4th one. I hear that there's some maybe form not filled out or whatever, but this goes back to 2023. So I would put the motion forward that it resolve the council instruct administration to pay the March 17, 2023 invoice number I-22147 totaling $736 from the wastewater collection contract services to pay for this and ask for council support of that. And then it's consistent with what we've done. So I put that motion forward and ask for comments.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Councillor Musker has comments.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I'd appreciate it if you could just provide some clarity. So where does the municipal sewer service responsibility begin? Is it at the property line?
It depends on what the problem is.
Okay,
Frozen line, whether it's water or sewer, is the responsibility of the property owner from the home right out to the main line.
okay. So based on the information we have, the freeze is starting in the manhole and then working its way back up the service line? That's what I understand, because the thawing, it's thawed very quickly from the manhole where the sewer service line comes into the manhole, right? And then everything just starts flowing. So would that be safe to say that the freeze is starting in the manhole, working its way back?
Yes, but there's more to it.
Okay,
Look at the blob that's holding the water back. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Is there's material in the manhole that holds back the water. If that material wasn't there, it wouldn't be an issue. You talk about ambient air in that manhole. If we went and thawed it that morning, by the afternoon it'd be froze again. I've been doing this a lot of years, and this line is no different than other ones we've had in town. What we have done, we're hoping this cures the problem. But there was a request for the property owner to fill out documentation, just like anybody else, and that was not filled out. The camera work was not done. Without the camera work, our hands are tied. That's why we took it on this year to pay the $300 to get a camera job done to prove whether there was an issue or there was not an issue. We were always led to believe just outside the manhole there was a sag in the pipe. That's what we were always told. That's why it froze. I would guess that's why back in the day they said, yes, we're going to pay for it because there's a sag there. But now that we've done the camera work and we paid for that work, it proves the only sag in that pipe is up close to the house. Got nothing to do with our main line. So, going back to the comments of conserving water, that's great. Low flush toilets, they're great, but they're not, because they don't allow the materials to be pushed where they need to be. This is prime example of that. So, we all know that.
I
Councillor Shipple.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I totally agree. I got issues with sewer lines. We don't put enough water through within buildings. So, but in this case, I think the problem starts in the manhole. And, I mean, we can put drains into manholes. That's not a problem. The depth of the manhole has a big difference on it as well. So there can be other areas in town where we put sewer lines into manholes, but if they're deeper than 10 feet, then it's probably not going to be a problem. In this case, Bowman has said 10 feet about. So if this tenant or this resident comes back and fills out the paperwork, can they get reimbursed for this then? Is that what you're suggesting?
Nope. In 2023 is when it needed to be done. It's the authorization to get the camera work done in 2023 is what we look for. If you don't fill out the paperwork, that's fine, but we need that camera work. And if it proves that it's not the town, it's all on you. If it does prove the town, we step up to the plate like we always do. But the fact that there was no camera work done to prove the issue, what the issues were.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue paying
Yeah.
it on behalf of the town. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's just what precedents are we setting moving forward?
Well,
to
the
all
precedence
the
has
other
been
ones.
set, because we paid it 3 times. And if we've cambered it prior, and we understand what the issue is,
Never been cambered.
it's never been cambered prior?
Not that service line.
From the house out?
Yep.
I thought on one of the invoices, the one where they talk about it being 10 feet deep, is they cambered it. That was the
No.
one, I believe, in 2019?
They took pictures. Pictures aren't camera work. Because if they would have cameraed it back in 2019, 2014, we would know there was not an issue on the outside of that
So
manhole.
the two previous bills that were paid then were paid in correctly?
No, I wouldn't say that. Because she didn't supply the town with the proper documentation, with the proper videos.
Councillor Musker.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. So, if I understand it correctly, this hinges on the resident not following the policy, and I can appreciate your desire to follow the policy. It's there for a reason, and it does keep things clear and not open to interpretation. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So my next question is, after these mitigation efforts, what would happen if it freezes again? Whose responsibility would it be? Now you have camera work that's been done. So if it freezes up again at the same spot, in your opinion, whose responsibility would it be?
If we've done our part and we maintain that line, and with the insulation and everything, it shouldn't freeze off. Can it? Yeah, it can.
Right.
I can't answer that. I really
Okay.
can't.
So if in next November, if the town gets a call and it's froze off again, you open the cover, pull out the bladder, and it's frozen in the same spot, whose responsibility would that be? It's either the residents or the towns.
Mhm.
And at this point, because it's speculative, you don't want to answer.
Yeah, and I think at that
Mr.
time,
Gross.
it is speculative, so we
Yeah.
really can't answer. We would probably have to camera again to see what's going on. Is there actually blockage? If there is no blockage and it's freezing in the manhole, then we still have an issue. But if there is blockage and it's freezing up the line, then, that's the homeowner, so.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thanks. So in the pictures here, when you're talking about the debris, so it's blocking the flow coming,
From
Out-
the house.
from the house
into
out.
the manhole.
so it's causing the manhole to freeze as well as the space between the debris and the house.
Correct.
Okay. And if there was more water flow going through, chances are you're not going to get the buildup of debris. And I mean, that debris could happen anywhere. And it could have started at the beginning of the winter right near the house. And it slowly moved, maybe with fluctuation of temperatures. And then it just happened to be at that spot when there was a real cold snap, possibly.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I just have a question on water flow. I know once upon a time, over by the Alliance Church on that street, there used to be houses that had basically a system that added water consistently to keep water flowing. Is that something that may end up having to happen on this particular property?
It could. There's too many unanswered questions. As far as the resident, like, we don't know if there's low flush toilets in there. I've never asked her. Talking with the plumber, he agrees. This in 2023 was the backup, the freeze was because of the materials that were left in the pipe. There are other things we can do other than just letting it freeze. But you take that chance, whether it's ours or hers.
Okay, Councillor Ald.
I did have a question regarding some of the comments that were made in the letter. In the third paragraph, Mr. Metcalf acknowledged that the freeze up in 2023, yada yada. He admitted that in the future, the town will be doing work to add further insulation to mitigate now admitted design flaw. Even though Mr. Metcalf has agreed the town should pay for the February 25th, he has inexplicitly refused to pay the outstanding invoice. What I get from this letter is they're saying that the town has admitted that there's a design flaw. What I'm hearing now is that there's not a design flaw. In here, they indicate serious design flaw. Is there a design flaw in this system?
No, there's not. What they're referring to is the service line that comes into a manhole. There was a comment that the service line should go into the main pipe, come in at a 90-degree, and then it goes from there. But that's false. In our design guidelines, it states that service lines they can go into a manhole. Prime example is any cul-de-sac. The homes at the end of a cul-de-sac go into a manhole. Did I include the one picture in here? I think I tried to. Anyways, it's not a design flaw.
And sorry, just for my ignorance, but who's Mr. Metcalf?
He's our operations manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's got lots of experience dealing with these issues. We spoke about it a few times while him and the property owner were going back and forth on paying the bill.
So he didn't tell them that there was a design flaw?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I know we have a motion on the table, so do we have more discussion on this particular motion? I'm not seeing any more discussion, so with no more discussion, I am going to call that to a vote. Do you want to maybe repeat your motion, just so everyone is clear on that, Councillor Sheffield?
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Let it be resolved, the council instruct administration to pay the March 17, 2023 invoice, number I-22147 for Bowman's, totaling $736.89 from the Waste Collection Contract Services account.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I'm just not 100% convinced that this is a fault of anything on the town, in the town system, the town side. And like it was mentioned, to set a precedent for future problems that may occur like this. I think the policy is covering what needs to be done and how to be done, so I won't be voting in favor.
Okay, any other comments before I call the vote? Councillor Sheffield.
Just one, and so when you talk about precedence, it was paid after that date, so the last one was paid in February 25th. So, although it was cambered, so we've already got precedence in there already. So 3 of the 4 have been paid. It's one in the middle it wasn't. So in this case, I think we've rectified the problem. I think Public Works has done what they have to do. I don't think it's going to be an issue in the future, so I think we look after it, keep the homeowner happy in this case. I think the photos show that the ice is built up in the manhole cover. That's where the problem started, whether there's debris in the line or not. You're going to get debris. That's what sewer lines are all about, is there's going to be some debris coming through that sewer line. So I would ask for council support in paying this invoice to Bowman.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
My page isn't loading right now with the invoices, but I believe the invoice that was paid in 2025 was for the camera work. Is that correct?
Both the camera work and to thaw it out.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, one last call for discussion before I call to a vote. Okay, seeing no more discussion, I will call that to a vote. All those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And that is defeated. Okay, moving on to item 7.2, the storefront improvement program. And Mr. Schwader is coming up.
Good morning, Acting Mayor, Council. Administration is before Council today seeking additional funding for the Storefront Improvement Program. In 2025, we budgeted $10,000 in the Economic Development budget for the Storefront Improvement Program. This year, we've had 3 applications so far, and they're all maximum matching grant of $5,000 each. So I'm in front of Council today seeing if Council would like to increase the budget in the ECDEV for the Storefront Improvement Program, either by $10,000 or $5,000. I'll leave that up to Council. Ideally, I would request $10,000 so I don't have to come back to Council, just in case we have a 4th applicant for 2025. I have some recommendations, alternative recommendations, and a recommendation in the report.
Okay, thank you for that report. Do we have any discussion? I think it's great that we're actually seeing uptake on this program. It's been a while since we've had some really good uptake on it, and it seems like maybe the message is getting out and people are seeing the benefit of this. Councillor Auld.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I agree. Last year, did we have anybody,
We had one,
just one?
Yep.
The gym?
the gym, yeah.
I think it's great that we put in a program and people are actually taking advantage of it. Is it going to negatively affect the economic development budget if we increase it by another $10,000? Like, where are we going to pull that?
There's actually a
priority.
GL account strictly for storefront improvement.
It's a priority.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
And-
you.
Yeah, the recommendation is coming out of Council Priority Reserve for this one. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. Could we take, like, I mean, I totally agree with increasing the budget on this, but is there something we can go one step further and do some kind of recognition for the storefronts that have actually taken advantage of the program? Maybe it's a plaque on the wall, or that's something for council to think about. Maybe it's something to bring to review, a service level review, to just take it one step further. But I think it's showing that council is supporting businesses and that we want to improve our storefronts and bring more visitors into town and more money being spent. So, yeah.
I'll just make comment to that. There's been 27 so far since we started the program. So if we wanted to recognize each one of them, there'd be 27 of them.
Councillor Auld.
Just to that comment, I don't think it has to be a plaque or anything like that, but even if we could just recognize them in, say, the newsletter, promote the program and have it in the newsletter, and here's a picture of what everybody's done. I don't think it has to be a big expense or extravagant recognition, but just something to show how the program's working. I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely something that it's a great comment, something we should look at. Anytime we have a program like this and we get good response to it, it's always nice to share the successes, so the residents see that the council is supporting the businesses. Any other discussion? If not, we have a recommended motion. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I'll make that motion. Be it resolved that council approve $10,000 to increase the amount within the economic development budget for the storefront improvement program from the council priority reserves.
Okay.
Could we add to that, or would it be a second motion on exploring possibilities to recognize? A second motion, okay, so I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Do we have discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And go ahead, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
So I make another motion that council direct admin to look at ways of recognizing the businesses that participated in the storefront improvement program. Is that enough direction? And bring it back to council.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Going to again ask for discussion on that motion. Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And moving on to item 7.3, a bylaw amendment, and I see Mr. Fitzsimmons is here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. We received an application to rezone 5037 51st Street, which is about northeast from our office. The application is to rezone the parcel from currently it's at medium density residential to core commercial. The applicant's intent is to create or construct an overflow parking area to complement their business, the Rocky or Mountain View Dental and the Rocky Eye Care. Currently, under medium density, parking facilities aren't a listed use. That's why they're applying for that land use bylaw amendment. Overall, and then also with that too, the municipal development plan would need to be redesignated too. Currently, it's at downtown transition area, which is it's for a mix of residential and commercial, some smaller commercial businesses to complement a residential area, and that application would be to redesignate just to a full commercial area to allow for a parking area. Overall, we are recommending that the application receive first reading and also for a public hearing to be rescheduled on July 2nd. We do feel there's planning merit with this application, and if first reading is given, we'd send it out to adjacent landowners and various agencies as well. I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has some.
Thank you very much for that report. Do we have any questions? Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I just have one about screening between the two different land uses and what the intent would be there.
Through to Deputy Mayor Phillips, Councillor Shippold. If the redesignation does go through, a development permit would be needed for a parking facility. And there is some requirements for screening, and it'd be a discussion we'd have with the applicants. We'd discuss the access for the area. Their intent would be to pave it within a couple of years, and we'd have a condition on the permit to pave it. We'd also require some screening. Currently, there is some landscaping that's there on the parcel. Like the applicant's plan is to demolish the house and put the parking facility on there, but there is some land use bylaw requirements for screening just to make sure it's not going to have an impact on surrounding neighbors. We'd also require a grading plan as well, just to make sure with rain it's not going to negatively impact the surrounding areas.
Okay, thank you. I do have one question. I know this is intended to be used as a parking lot during business hours, but has the consideration been asked about what happens on events like Market on Main and things like that? Because I'm sure if another parking lot pops up, that it probably will get used for that.
Deputy Mayor Phillips, we haven't discussed that with the applicant. It's something I can bring forward to them for the public hearing. Their intent is to be for their staff, but we could check with them just see if what their plans, if they're open to allowing it to be used for events and stuff. We'll definitely bring that question forward to the applicants.
Okay. Any other discussion on this particular agenda item? If not, we have recommended action. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Be resolved that council give first reading to amending bylaw 2025/11, a bylaw to amend the Town of Rocky Mountain House Municipal Development Plan, bylaw 2020/20, and the Town of Rocky Mountain House Land Use bylaw, bylaw 2020/19, as presented, and that administration set the public hearing date for July 2nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. in council chambers.
Okay, thank you for that motion, Deputy Mayor. Any comments, questions on that motion? Seeing none, I will call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to 7.4, weed inspector decision. Mr. Kraus.
Sure. Sorry. Thank you, Acting Mayor. So, under the Weed Control Act, the municipality every year has to appoint weed inspectors for the municipality. Historically, we've always partnered with Clearwater County and we've utilized their weed inspectors for the town if needed. So this is, we're looking for council just to approve and appoint the weed inspectors that are county employees to perform that function for the town. Just so council's aware, we actually are training one of our staff to be a weed inspector, so in the future it might be just in-house.
Okay. Thank you for that report, Mr. Kraus. Any questions on what's being put in front of us? It's a pretty simplistic, straightforward ask. Councillor Musker.
Just thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm happy to make the motion. Be it resolved that council appoint, forgive me if I get these names wrong, mispronounced, Jill Longacre, Rylan Lacey, Courtney Alstott, Daniel Judd, Cassidy McDonald, Dakota Dixon, Casey McKenzie, Leah Sulik, Donald Bertignoli, Carly Lipka, Levi Gerdung, and Caitlin Brown as weed inspectors under the Alberta Weed Control Act for the Town of Rocky Mountain House for 2025 for field and administrative duties for the duration of their employment as directed by Clearwater County's Agricultural Service Board.
Okay, thank you. That was a wordy motion. Any discussion on that motion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. So moving on to item 8.1, we have correspondence for action, the Lord's Food Bank requesting a town representative. So this is actually happening on June 22nd, Sunday, June 22nd, from 3 to 6 at the Church of Nazarene. And I am able to attend this, so I would be happy to attend this on behalf of council. And then if there's other council members that are wanting to attend, that would be great as well. Mr. Kraus, do we need to make a motion to this effect, or? Okay. Councillor Musker.
Yeah, I'll try to put a motion together that any councillor who wants to attend this event at the Church of the Nazarene on the date specified can, and that the acting mayor brings greetings on behalf of council.
I'm not sure if we're asked to bring greetings or just to be here, but
Just to be there?
yeah.
Okay.
It is, okay.
Is there
If
something
there is
about there?
greetings, I'll
Some
do greetings or
words?
be there, whichever is required. Thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor? That is carried. And item 8.2, the Battle of the Rockies meet and greet on August 12th. So the Battle of the Rockies is having a meet and greet where they're going to have their sponsors and dignitaries in attendance. I unfortunately am not going to be available for this one. Are there any other members of council that would like to be part of this? Councillor Auld.
I would just make the motion that if any council members are able to attend, that they RSVP by the 30th, I think it said.
July 30th.
July 30th. And let admin know.
Okay. Thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? Councillor Auld, did you have discussion? No. I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? Excuse me, and that is carried. And we do have item 8.3, a letter we received from the Curling Club. And Mr. Kraus, do you want to speak to this one?
Sure. So as council is aware, the town brought in an engineering firm to assess the structure of the arena. And at that same time, the curling club participated in that for a structural inspection of the curling club. Through that inspection, there were some major problems with the trusses in the curling rink, to the point where they actually recommended closing the building down due to imminent danger if they have strong wind or whatever for collapsing of the roof. So that has been done, and the curling club has proceeded with the shoring to brace up the trusses to alleviate that concern. We met the curling club, the town, and the engineering firm yesterday to go through the report, and I actually just sent council the report this morning. So I know you haven't had to do it. So the next step is to get more the engineering done for the fixing of the trusses, and then obviously finding a contractor to fix it. So right now the engineer is putting cost estimates together in a tender package for the curling club to have those repairs done. So these costs that are in the letter are preliminary, very preliminary, but probably fairly close, like Class D plus 20%. So what the curling club has done, obviously this is a major expense for the curling club. They are seeking grants to help pay for it, because they're looking at a $1.2 million fix, including redoing their asphalt roof. I know the CFEP deadline has passed, but they have talked to our MLA and has got an extension for a submission to a CFEP grant to this Friday. So this is why it's kind of on the last minute item on council's agenda. They are requesting the town to give them a letter of support for the CFEP grant application. And they are asking for a grant to assist with the repairs. In the letter, they're saying $50,000 to $100,000 from council. So in a CFAP application, it's a 50-50 grant. I'm just making sure Mr. Ament nods his head, make sure I got it right. So that means they have to come up with 50% of the funding for these repairs. So they're looking at approximately $600,000. They did submit their financial statements, and they do have $360,000 in their bank account, which would deplete their bank account if they utilized it all. So they do have to figure out coming up with approximately $600,000, and hence I think that the request for the municipal support. I am not sure if they have asked Clearwater County yet. I'm sure they will be, but this is kind of a urgent matter, I guess, not timing. I know in the past, especially working with the Bike Society, CFAP did not like it when we said, we'll put it in our budget for consideration or whatever. They wanted firm money. So, I mean, that puts council probably in a little bit of an awkward situation today, because it's, they basically need confirmation of that funding. So I will try to answer any questions for the curling club if council has any. But I will, we did send the report out to council. Just on a side note, I guess, we do need to repair some truss work in our arena also. And we will be coming back to council with that estimate, hopefully by July 2nd. The engineer said he would get it to us as soon as possible, because it is his recommendation. While it's not as severe as the trusses in the curling rink, he is recommending that those repairs to the trusses in the arena be done before winter. So that's just on a side note, just to let council know there's probably additional costs coming that aren't budgeted for.
Okay, thank you for that report, Mr. Kraus. Do we have any comments, questions, clarification? Councillor Auld.
I do have some concerns with this. Mr. Kraus, the Curling Club is a private for-profit business, correct?
No.
No.
No, I think they are a non-profit organization.
They're a nonprofit.
Not- yeah. Or they wouldn't be able to apply for CFAP.
Right,
Right,
okay.
so.
And what is the amount that, if you can say, what is the amount that they currently owe the town?
I think it's $433,000 that they pay an annual amount back to us. I think it's $39,000 and change they pay annual payments to us. That's an interest-free loan that we gave them with the upgrades that happened back in 2014.
Counselor All, did you have more questions? No. Counselor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. To Mr. Kraus, did you say that was an interest-free loan?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Maybe Wes can clarify, is the CFIP is a maximum of 1 million? Or is?
Yes, I believe that's the large grant.
The large grant. So if it's a max, 1 million, they're still, according to the estimate, they'll still be short 100 and some thousand on that too.
Yeah, this is a tough one to assess because we're being put on the spot here today and we don't really have a lot of time to think about this and a lot of time to even discuss this with the curling clubs. So it's really hard to make a good, solid decision based on what we have here in front of us today. Of course, we have to make a decision because that's what we're here for. But this is a tough one. Councillor Auld.
Thank you. Part of my issue is that their bank account isn't gonna suffice for their $500,000 to go towards this. So that's where I'm assuming they're gonna send a letter to the county for $100,000 as well. The town $100,000 gives them their $500,000. They still are gonna have to come up with the extra $200,000, and then their bank account is gonna be empty. I just don't know how they're gonna repay their interest-free loan, even with the way this math works out.
Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm going to start by saying I appreciate the fact that the Rocking Curling Club finds itself in a tough spot. Unexpected costs and these things need to be done as quickly as possible. But I also want to say that the town, it's not that the town hasn't been generous and accommodating to the Rocky Curling Club, almost $500,000 in interest-free loan. And now we find out that we're going to have other costs to our rec facilities that are going to be coming potentially this year. It needs to be done before the next ice season. I hate being the bad guy, but there's only so many dollars to go around. So I'll be the bad guy and say I'm not in favor of supporting this.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate thing is that the next intake for the CFIP grant isn't until the fall, and work would need to be done in the summer before their next curling season starts. And with the CFIP grant, you can't start a project and then apply for funding afterwards. So it makes it tough.
Yeah, Acting Mayor, what I believe they've, and I'm speculating, is that for the CFAP grant purposes, they put in the truss repair plus the asphalt roof. I don't believe the asphalt roof is going to be done or needs to be done this year. I think that's probably next year's project, so they have to fix the trusses first. So I think they probably included the asphalt roof just because of a granting opportunity, and it needs to be done. But I think what they really need to focus on, or what they're focused on, is the $675,000 for the truss repairs. So just clarification, I think. So, but I could be wrong. Wes, do you have?
No, you're correct.
Okay, so.
And just to Councillor Hutchinson, the CFAP program, good morning. Yeah, no, you're correct with the assumption. I believe their project is just to get the truss work, the shoring done, the repairs of the trusses this year. They did have a quote previously to do the asphalt roof. They're not gonna do that until the trusses are taken care of. When it comes to the CFEP program, the large grant CFEP, the $1 million one, only has one intake per year, and that's in June. They do quarterly intakes for the small grants, which is up to 125,000. They do that quarterly. So I don't think that would suffice what they have, but there are other grants like the Active Communities Initiative, which the Bike Park Society, this would qualify for that as well, but unfortunately the intake for both of those grants is the same, annual, just in June. The timing of it, you submit, by the time they would be evaluated, and they won't hear back till November as to whether they're successful or not, but doesn't help them in the short term. They do need to expend without them losing an entire curling season. This being their 65th season, unfortunately has put a damper in that.
Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. I am struggling today with these requests that we have for money. I feel for the Rocky Curling Club. It's a well-utilized rec facility in our community, and we know how important rec is to our citizens, our residents, and the people in the county. So I'm struggling because I would hate to see them miss out on a curling season if they have to wait till June next year to try again for the CFIP grant. Mr. Kraus, where would the funds come from if we were to allot any money to them today?
Yeah, the council priority reserve. We do have to reconcile that reserve just to show council where you're at with it, because
Yes.
we've been kind of picking at it, so we
Yeah.
can get that report to council. But I'm sure there is adequate funds for those requests.
So I guess for myself, this is a really well-utilized facility in our community, and we know how important rec is to the residents. I would be okay with trying to help them out and give them a grant. I'm not leaning towards the 100,000, but I would be open to council helping them to the tune of 50, maybe 75, somewhere in there. It's tough, for sure.
Councillor Auld.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. So their CFIP application, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So are they asking for the $1 million and they're gonna do the truss repair just with that funds? The CFIP grant, they won't get the money until November, so that already puts them behind the 8 ball to get everything done for this season. So I don't understand how they're gonna have a season this year.
Yeah, I don't know how this is gonna play out at the provincial level. At this point, they've gotten permission to submit a late application. Whether they can get permission to spend money before the grant is actually awarded. Typically, these programs do not allow for funds to be expended until they officially get notice that they've received the grant. So I don't know how that will play out. I'm not sure what discussions they've had with the MLA on that side of things. I guess they can submit their applications. There's no guarantee that they would get it, but because it's a competitive program. But yeah, at this point, all I know is through our discussions is that, they're hoping to save part of their season. They realize that at best, it'd probably be late November, December before the repairs could potentially be completed.
And Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I agree with Councillor Caprero. I would support that as well. And I'm prepared to put a motion forward that we would, as per their request, they're looking for money, that we would give them the grant for $50,000 to come out of council priority reserves. And also they're requesting a letter of support, and that we would offer them a letter of support, that we'd grant them their wish. And so that we don't become the wheel that slows them down or the obstacle for them, that they can continue on with their processes. So I'd make that motion. If you can get that all into one motion, that'd be awesome.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion, Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. There's two things in there. I support the one, the letter, but not the funding. So that will be why I'll be voting against your motion.
Yes, that's a question of Councillor Schipel. Would you be willing to split those motions?
I will split those motions then. One regarding the funding, so let's do the funding one first. And so that I would move that we support the Rocky Curling Club with a grant of $50,000.
Okay, Councillor Ald.
Thank you. Can we have a ballpark of what is in the council priority reserve before we spend money that's, we don't know?
Could I ask for a 5-minute recess?
Okay. How about we take a 5-minute recess, we can get some information, and then we can come back. Okay, we are back in live session, and we will continue the discussion on the curling club letter request. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, so thank you, Acting Mayor. So to answer Council's question, it started with 500,000 in the beginning year, and Council has allocated 70,000 so far this year, so it's at 430,000.
Okay, so definitely sufficient funds. Okay, so back to the discussion on what we're doing here. My big concern is every 3-4 years, we seem to get another request for dollars and funding, and it's an aging building. My concern is we need to have a conversation with the curling club about the future and what that future holds with the building, their organization, the viability of that group. I think it's something that needs to happen because it seems to be a reoccurring problem. And yeah, this request today is definitely a hard one to deal with. But another concern is if they miss out on at least half of their season, potentially more, what kind of damage is that going to do to their group? Because it's always harder to reinvigorate a group after a partial or full season has been missed. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thanks. When we did our asset management life cycle study, whatever that was called, the curling building was included in that?
Yes, the consultant at that time did the assessment of both the curling rink and ours. When that report came out, it looked at one of the high priority items. That's why last budget cycle I looked at the high priorities. In my mind, the roof structures were the highest priority. And so that's where we got the funding to do that further study, which was recommended in the initial assessment.
And do you remember off the top what was the projected life cycle of that building?
It didn't give a date. Now, one of the things through our discussion with the engineers at this point, repairing the trusses now with the technologies they have is still far more economical than tearing it down and building a new roof. If it were to fail, then, the costs increase by a factor of 10 is what the consultants have said. So with the new technology and making the repairs, you could extend the life cycle of this truss system by 30 to 40 years. So there's nothing wrong with wood if they use it. Repairing it now while the roof is still in its spot is still much more economic than the alternative of replacement.
I just don't see how 50,000 is really going to be helping the curling club. When you look at the numbers, if they used all of their reserves and we only gave 50, they're still not going to have enough money to complete everything. And I realize you said the roof doesn't look like it's included, but if they're getting a CFIP grant, if they can do all of it and get it done and not have any repairs, and have a couple 10, 15, 20 more years of generating revenue. So I would be more inclined to go with the higher end at 100,000, not just 50,000.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the table right now for 50,000. Councillor All.
Thank you. I just have one more question. Instead of a grant, are your thoughts on including, if it's 50 or 100,000, that we top up the current interest-free loan that they have with us? Would that be an avenue of going down?
Mr. Kraus.
We would need a discussion with the curling club on that. The council can make that offer, but I don't know, I can't answer for the curling club.
That's the problem. There's too many unanswered, too many questions.
I think no matter what happens, whatever decision we make today, I think a meeting with the curling club is something that has to happen. We need to discuss the future of the building, the organization, and how that all plays out and looks. So we do have a motion on the table because we split that motion into two. So we have a motion for $50,000 of a grant made out to the curling club. Do we have more discussion on that particular grant? Or that particular motion? Okay, I'm not seeing any more discussion, so I'm going to call that to a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? And that is defeated. Councillor Auld.
I would like to make a second motion that we have the curling club come as a delegation to council so we can have these discussions moving forward. I voted against that motion just for the fact that there's too many questions. So I would like to have a representative from the curling club come to council.
Okay, before we deal with that motion, Mr. Kraus, we have another motion on the table before
sorry.
that, so just hold on to that motion. We need to deal with this other motion first. So the second motion that we split was a letter of support for the CFIP grant for the Rocky Curling Club. That's the next motion we're discussing. So, comments on that, Councillor Hutchinson?
I don't really think a letter of support is going to do them any good. I think we've seen in the past with applications for CFIP grants that if the money wasn't in their bank account, they had trouble and had to reapply additional times until there was actually showing that matching portion of the grant. I think it's the funding. It's funding that they need, not just a letter of support. And they are asking for a letter of support and funding received by June 19th. So that is also a problem with having them come as a delegation. We've got that timeline on the 19th, and other than having a recess and seeing if we can get a delegation to come in today, I think we either jump in and we jump right back out and not do anything.
So just speaking in favor of that motion for a support letter, I think a support letter is valid, especially if they are, they've been granted an extension for the CFIP grant already. So there's, our MLA Minister Nixon is behind the scenes trying to help this organization, and I have faith that his advocating for this will bear fruit. So I think for sure we need to send a letter of support. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
But again, in their letter to us, they are asking for a letter of support and funding, not just the letter of support. So again, when you're filling out the CFIP grants, does it really matter if there's a letter of support? I don't know, maybe there's clarity needed there.
Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, no, thank you, Acting Mayor. Just my recommendation to council is to provide the letter of support, because that does help their CFAP grant, but it has the municipality support behind it. And I don't know what other fundraising or source of income that they are putting together for it. They might have additional money without our 50,000, through sponsors and so forth. So, I don't want to speculate. They don't have the money if we don't give them the money. So, but I think a letter of support is required.
Councillor Cabrero.
I would be in favor of the letter of support as well. I just don't want them to feel like council doesn't have their back in any kind of way. I think it takes nothing to send in a letter of support, so I would most definitely be in favor.
Okay, more discussion on the letter of support motion. I'm not seeing any more discussion, so I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? Those opposed? And that is carried. Okay, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson. Oh, Councillor Auld.
I'll just repeat my motion that we had instructed administration to reach out to the curling club to have a delegation come to council, and we can go over their next steps and the future of the curling club.
thank you for that motion. I definitely think, as I stated earlier, that is a must. We need to discuss what's going on and how the future plays out. Councillor Schiffelt.
I'm in favor of that motion, Acting Mayor, but I'm also thinking that they're looking for financial support, so I'd really like to readdress that in some fashion, if the larger amount of money or whatever. So I definitely agree we need to talk to them to see what their long-term vision is and how we're going to play into that. But in the interim, I think they're looking for financial support as well. So let's do this motion and readdress the financial part.
And just before we deal with this motion, Mr. Kraus, are we able to do that because we defeated that motion?
It can be revisited if it's a motion by the prevailing side.
Prevailing side, yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's deal with this motion first. We have the motion on the table. Do we have any discussion on Councillor Ald's motion? Okay, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Because if it was a dollar amount changed, it doesn't make a difference?
Well, I think the easiest way is someone from the prevailing side just put a motion forward to reconsider the previous motion. I mean, changing the dollar values, really not, no. You need a reconsideration motion. Changing the dollar value doesn't change the intent of the motion, which is to provide funding. So that's why you need to reconsider.
So then put forward a motion to reconsider
The defeated motion.
the defeated
Defeated
motion regarding funding for the Rocky Curling Club with amendments? Or,
No, that's.
That's just it?
That's
Okay.
just it. And then you can debate and put another motion on the table after the reconsideration motion.
Okay, so we have had a motion on the prevailing side to reconsider the defeated motion on the $50,000 to the Rocky Curling Club. So now we can open that back up to discussion. Councillor Schiff. Oh, we got to vote on that first? No discussion on that?
yeah, that was a motion.
Do we have, can we have discussion on that motion first, though, or? Okay, so discussion on that motion?
Again, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm in favor of supporting them financially. The amount, I most certainly would be open to that. At this point, the motion, if we were talking about that, is at $50,000. I'd support that or any other number greater than that, so.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion on the table? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I would put forward the motion to, I just feel that the larger amount is going to be needed as much as, I don't want to just spend $100,000 just like that, but I think the curling club is an important part of our community, and to get the work that is needed before something more serious happens to the roof, that I would put the motion forward to support them with $100,000.
So just a clarification, Mr. Kraus, on how we're proceeding with this. We need to
Yep.
deal with the motion to
The
reconsider
motion to
first.
reconsider first. yes.
First, yes.
And then you
And
can
we
put forward another motion on the
We didn't,
funding.
we didn't vote on that, so. Okay, so the motion on the table is to reconsider the first motion of $50,000 to the curling club. That's what we're discussing now. Any further discussion on that motion? Okay, I'm gonna call that to a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so now we can have further motions or discussion.
So do I have to make a completely new, different motion, or do I just go back to the original motion? A new motion. So be it resolved that council support the Rocky Curling Club with the grant of $100,000 coming out of Council Priority Reserve Fund. Can we put a condition on there that if the full 100,000 isn't needed, that it be returned? if they're only applying for, say, $600,000 grant, they would only need 300, or is that getting too difficult and muddying the water too much? Yeah, okay, so take that out of there.
Okay, so the motion is to supply the curling club with a $100,000 grant coming out of council priority reserve. Okay, so I'm going to open that up for discussion. Do we have discussion on this particular motion, Councillor Shipple?
So my question is in regards to, we have a motion that's been agreed upon for 50,000.
No, we
It was defeated?
yes. So the new motion is for $100,000. Do we have any discussion? If not, I will call that to a vote then. Okay, I'm going to call that to a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so now we can move on in the agenda to correspondence for information. And yeah, we've got 5 minutes, so we will do the correspondence for information. Everyone's had a chance to look at that. Any clarifications needed? If not, we're just looking for a motion to accept the correspondence for information as information. Councillor Auld.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I'll make the motion that we accept 9.1 to 9.5 for information.
Okay, thank you. I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Let's do the action list real quick. Mr. Kraus, we have the action list in front of us.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Just to go through the open item, so sewer freeze was dealt with by council today. Chuck Whiting advertising opportunities, we are just waiting for a response from the county to partner with us on that. And housing study, I am still working with the county on that. I mean, at the end of the day, that would probably be a 2026 budget item, but I'll continue working with Mr. Emmons on that. So the forfeiture property, I can say, is actually at land titles right now, so we're just waiting for land titles approval on that. Some items were crossed off this because they have been initiated and are still in progress, so like the feasibility study and all of that, but I mean, it doesn't, it's crossed off because we have initiated and it's in progress, so, but just to let council know, if you still want it on there as a reminder, we can uncross them, but any questions from council?
Okay, do we have any questions of Mr. Kraus? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. Just on the senior, not the senior, the housing study, I had had a conversation with Minister Nixon about the possibilities of them partnering, and he was quite receptive to saying that because it's a regional, it could be a regional study, that we partner town, county, and his office. So I don't know what to do, how to go forward with that. Do I reach out to them, or is that something that we leave in the hands of admin?
We can inquire administratively.
Okay.
I'm not sure which funding he's looking at, or if it's a grant program that I'm not aware of, or, but we can maybe draft a letter we can send.
Yeah, he just said that when we were speaking with him at the AHS meeting, and Rocky Senior Housing had met with him and had said that, is there any way that there's any grant money or anything available? And he says we could partner. So that's kind of where it was.
We will look into that further.
Thank you.
Okay. If no other questions, just looking for accepting the action list as information. Councillor Cabrero.
I will make that motion.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion, all those in favor? And that is carried. So we do have a closed session item starting at 10:30, so I'm going to take a quick break here, and then we will come back and, or do we need to go? Okay, we are back live streaming. We're going to move on to the agenda, and we are at administrative inquiries. Does anyone have any administrative inquiries? Not seeing any. Moving on to notices of motion. Does anyone have any notices of motion? Not seeing any. Okay, now we will take a quick break before we go into closed session. Okay, thank you. We're back in live streaming, and our delegation has arrived for our closed session, so I'm just looking for a motion to go into closed session. Counselor Schibel.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I also move that we go into closed session.
Okay, and we are now in closed session.
resume the live stream.
Okay, we are back in live session, and we have a couple of motions coming out of closed session. First is for item 13.2, Councillor Musker.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we accept Agenda Item 13.2, Remuneration Report for information.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion. Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And Councillor Auld.
I'll just make a motion that we accept the CAO dialogue as information.
Okay, thank you for that. Discussion. All those in favor? And that is carried. And with our agenda being concluded, I